Chair Bud, Vice Chair, members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to testify today. My name is Gilberto Calderin. I'm a proud immigrant from Cuba, and I serve as the Advocacy Director for the Massachusetts Immigrant and Refugee Advocacy Coalition. First, I want to, if you would indulge me, I just wanted to set the context of, where we are now. And I think some of the folks who testified before shared a little bit of this, but the narrative around immigration has greatly shifted. It is no longer whether you are documented or undocumented. Simply being an immigrant makes you a target. How we experience it is different, but nonetheless, our destinies are tied in how that occurs. And, when we think about this, this is a federal aggressive administration that is trying to deport over 1 million people. And if you break that down, that's 3,000 people per day. And we need to ask ourselves, how are they going to do this? And there are multiple ways. One of them is by enticing our law enforcement officers, including our police officers, through both formal and informal collaboration, the formal being 287G, which many folks had mentioned, and through informal collaboration. And the other is through stripping the legal protections from people who have followed every rule. And I'm talking about TPS, temporary protective status recipients from Haiti, Venezuela, Honduras, Nicaragua, and so many others, and humanitarian parolees, and even those with U.S. citizenship through denaturalization and so many others. These are people who were told to, quote unquote, do it the right way. And now our federal government is asking them that they must leave. And if you would indulge me, I just want to be able to humanize who these folks are. These are real people with real lives, not just a statistic on an Excel sheet or on a piece of paper, but I'm talking about the caregivers in nursing homes who are taking care of our grandparents. We're talking about nurses who are taking care of those who are sick and those who have been injured. And we're talking about service workers who help all of us take care of our needs and every day as we partake in our community. And with that being said, I just wanted to share a little bit more of what we're doing as well. And so I want to speak about the Protecting Massachusetts Community campaign that we recently launched. This is a broad coalition of advocates, labor partners, lawyers, faith leaders, and directly impacted immigrants who have come together to respond to the deepening harm caused by federal immigration enforcement. We're living in a moment marked by increased ICE activity, heightened fear in immigrant neighborhoods, and renewed efforts to enlist local state officials in immigration enforcement. This ICE activity broadly impacts our Commonwealth, from individuals who are frightened to leave their home, to attend doctor appointments, to children who fear that they will return from school to learn that a parent has been arrested, to businesses struggling with the loss of workers. With that being said, 1 in 5 workers in Massachusetts is an immigrant, and many businesses have already lost workers to these arrests and deportations, and many more will be impacted if this trend continues. There was even a study that mentioned that if these mass deportations continue to happen, the Commonwealth will lose about 148,000 jobs right here. And Senator Miranda, you had mentioned before that there was a single day in Framingham where 2,500 students did not even show up to school, and that really speaks to the chilling effect that this is having. And by the way, our children learn. They see what their parents are going through. They see what's happening in their communities, and they internalize that fear and that trauma as well. So in this environment, Massachusetts has to act decisively to protect its residents. Our coalition is advocating for a joint set of priorities, protections that will strengthen trust, preserve community safety, and uphold the Commonwealth's commitment to equity. So our priorities include banning future 287G agreements. The federal government continues to pour resources into expanding ICE's reach by encouraging local law enforcement to carry out federal immigration duties. Massachusetts must ensure that no future 287G agreements are signed. These agreements blur the critical line between community policing and immigration enforcement, a line that must remain firm to preserve that public trust and safety. The second priority and our recommendation is prohibiting informal partnerships with ICE. Even without formal agreements, ICE continues to rely on informal collaborations with local police departments. These backdoor partnerships allow ICE to use local resources to target community members, undermining public safety. When police are perceived as extensions of ICE, immigrants stop calling 911, stop showing up to court, and stop reporting crimes such as domestic violence and labor exploitation. The third priority is prohibiting questioning about immigration status by court and police officials. no one should have to choose between personal safety and the risk of deportation. Ensuring that court officials and police do not ask about immigration status allows survivors of violence, workers facing abuse, and tenants confronting exploitation to seek help without fear. And then the fourth priority here is to find legal help to fight deportations. I know Representative Holmes, you had mentioned a little bit about that, and happy to have a conversation with you as well. But that's to ensure to level the playing field for low-income immigrants at the 200% poverty level. We just want to be able to give them a fighting chance to be able to have an attorney to represent them, because immigrants who are in deportation proceedings are 5 times more likely to win their cases if they have representation, and those in detention are 10 times more likely to win relief from detention if they have access to counsel. There are several bills that
there it is right there.
What?
There it is. Representation.
Can we say that one more time? I'm just sorry.
No worries.
Cheering squad here.
Cheering squad.
Do you want to?
Yeah. If you're 5 times more likely to win, you're also 5 times more likely to lose if you don't have representation, which is another way of putting it, and 10 times more likely to lose if you're in detention, which is pretty strong. And we have the fiscal year 27 budget coming up. We're really grateful that we had that this legislature granted $5 million to begin immigrant legal services for people, low-income folks facing deportation proceedings. That system has already started. The Massachusetts Access to Counsel Initiative has been funded, but it's a drop in the bucket, as you all know, and we're hoping to, we're asking for $10 million in the next budget, so that's something really concrete that would help. Sorry.
No, what are you apologizing? You're my teammate over here. So with that being said, I know this legislature has more than 2 bills this session that address many of these priorities in complementary ways, and we just ask that these priorities be reflected in them. And at this moment, Massachusetts faces a choice. We can allow federal immigration enforcement to divide our communities, or we can build a firewall of dignity, safety, and justice for all who call this Commonwealth home. Passing these priority protections is amongst the most immediate and impactful steps the legislature can take to protect families, strengthen public safety, and affirm Massachusetts' core values of equity and inclusion. Thank you for your leadership, and we urge you to act boldly to ensure that Massachusetts remains a place where immigrants are protected. So thank you, and happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Can we actually go to Amy, and then are you guys tag teaming?